Hey everyone, it's Corey, and welcome back to Crafters Roundtable, the podcast where I get to sit down with individuals in the quilting, sewing, and crafting space and learn about their insights and experiences in this incredible world of quilting and sewing that we live in. Before we get started, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you're listening or watching so you can stay up to date with everything going on here. So, pull up a chair and join me at the table as I welcome in our guest. Hey Jess, how are you?
Hey, it's so good to be here, Corey. Thanks for inviting me on.
You are so welcome. I'm excited that we were able to get our schedules aligned so we could do this.
That's
Uh,
right.
so for everyone that is watching, Jess and I go back a little bit of time. We go pretty way back. And I am super excited that she is joining me today. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of incredible things, especially the Longarm League. She's got rookie season. We've got so many incredible things to jump into. But Jess, before we get started, can you talk to me about kind of like your journey into the world of long arm quilting, kind of how you came in this space and what inspired you to start quilting over a decade ago?
2 decades ago, thank you very much.
Decades. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, there
I
we go.
know, I know. It's really easy to remember because my oldest son just turned 20 and I got quilting like shortly after he was born. So that it's easy for me to always like know how long I've been quilting because of his birthday. So um I love quilts. I love cuddling under quilts. I love the feel of quilts. I love the cotton. I love the just everything about the texture, the variety of patterns. So I decided to, why not just try to see if I could to make my own quilts. I got a sewing machine um, but way back when,
Yeah.
and started making simple patchwork. And I realized that I was really eager to get to the quilting phase, which I don't think is true for everybody. I was mesmerized by the texture and the secondary designs and patterns that you can accomplish by adding those quilting stitches through the layers.
Right.
So these were even like before the blogging days really took off. So I was at my local library scouring the shelves for like old magazines, for books. I loved the quilting mostly, most of all.
Yeah.
So I would check out technique related books, and I was just on my domestic sewing machine. So I was trying to do the most I could with, my resources, and I
Yeah.
didn't have the space for a long arm at that time. And so, but I knew as soon as like I found out what a long arm was, because I think I was in a class, just taking a technique class on piecing, and someone mentioned a long arm, and I was like, wait, what is that? You have to tell me more. And so when I found out what they were, I was like, well, that is my next natural step. But it was quite a while before I wanted one, until like I could finally afford one and have a space for it. So it seemed like it was very early on that I identified that as like just a very high level of interest for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we moved to our second home that had a basement, I was able to buy a used machine and put it in like the unfinished corner of this basement. And that's when I started um, really quilting for myself first, but then it was always kind of understood, just because of the investment,
Mhm.
that I was going to be using it to make income. Um, and so that's kind of how that started and progressed.
And it's just kind of exploded from there. I
Yeah.
think it's always funny for me, and I guess funny is probably not the right word, but it's always interesting for me to get others' takes on how they started into quilting and sewing, because a lot of the people that I've spoken with, even some of my friends that that are the same age as me, they say that they've looked in the books and different things like that. I started straight online. And so I feel very fortunate that I didn't have to
Mhm.
go scouring things. My scouring was putting, kind of something into Google and being like, "I want this," and then it pops up, which
Yeah.
makes it which makes it a little bit easier when you're searching for all those different patterns. But I can totally understand and agree with you that quilting is kind of that natural thing that you kind of gravitate towards. That's what
Mhm.
I do as well. Like I like piecing and all, but quilting is really where it's at for me.
I
Um,
agree.
so you talk about like, eventually starting into a business. What was that timeline like from when you bought the machine to when you jumped into going into business? And kind of what were some initial maybe obstacles or any type of things that you like face while you were learning that? And how did
Yeah.
you kind of work around those things?
Great question. And really, I had an amazing mentor locally. A woman named Jackie owned this quilt shop in the very small town that I live in. So at the time, we probably had 3,000 people. So I feel very, very fortunate that we had a small quilt shop that she ran out of her home. And she knew, because I was there a lot and would visit, she knew how much I like quilting, and she was seeing what I was able to do on my domestic. And so she was very instrumental in helping me try her long arm for the first time. And she actually paid me so that I could learn the ropes on her machine and then do shop samples for her, and just kind of help her in that step because she was busy doing all sorts of other things.
Right.
And so I couldn't pass up that opportunity to really get paid to learn on her machine. And so that's kind of how it started, testing out the long arm stuff. So I was able to sort of translate some of the motifs that I was used to doing on a sit down domestic machine.
Hmm.
And, trying that at a long arm was, it took a while to kind of get the hang of that,
Oh, no,
as
it's
you know.
definitely it's definitely a little different because on the sit down, you're used to moving. I like the analogy of paper and pen, and on a
Hmm.
sit you're used to moving the paper, but now on a long arm, you're moving the actual pen, so it's, like, completely a flip in the way that your brain has been thinking to kind
Yes.
of put it into doing it on that machine. So, no, I totally understand.
Well, so that's kind of how it started with me initially learning like just how to move the machine head. Basically, it was not
Right.
computerized. So I got comfortable, and these were only shop samples, so I didn't feel a whole lot of pressure
Mhm,
to do something amazing. I mean, we're talking about stippling and just sort of easy meandering type designs.
mhm.
And then, as I was kind of learning and trying new things, she encouraged me to, do the next, like, I was eager to try, maybe to make it a little more fancy or a little like try a feather or,
Right.
throw in some flourishes. So she really encouraged me in that. And I don't know what time elapsed between when I just was kind of getting a feel for it to when she had her customers coming and saying like, who quilted that, and can we hire her to quilt for
Right.
our own personal tops. And so we worked out a deal. I went to her home in her basement and I would do the quilting. But I knew at the time, like, okay, this is something I knew that was going to stick for me. And so it wasn't that much longer that I bought my own machine so I could work around, my own hours. And I had young
Mhm.
kids at the time. So I just thought like, I have to get one of these machines for my own home. And then she kind of gave me the basics of like, since she was the shop owner, she's like, this is how much we're charging for this. And so I felt like that was almost um, I don't know if a green light is the right word. Like she decided that for me. So I
Yeah.
didn't have to make some of the pricing decisions at the beginning.
Mhm.
So I think that was a benefit to me because she knew the marketplace, I guess you could say, or like
Yeah.
what other people were charging
Right.
around her and what was typical. And so I feel fortunate that I had her guidance at the beginning. But then when it became my business, my machine, we switched the deal.
Yeah.
And instead of having everything go through her, she just referred people directly to me. And so by the time I had the machine, I already sort of had a source for clients.
Yeah.
And so that was nice. But the talk about pitfalls, I
Yeah.
mean, I had a really hard time because I first started like being really interested in quilting as a hobby, and I wanted to kind of push my skill set, and I wanted to start doing the fancy things, and some of the things that I admired in other people in their quilting, I wanted to try to replicate, and I wanted to try to like uh, just there was an artistry, I guess, that was there that I found it really, really difficult when to balance like how fancy I wanted to go on a
Right.
design or a quilt, still charging the prices that
Uh-huh.
were not.
Yep, 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 yep. I
Yeah.
know, I know.
So it was so tricky. And I think the not having a computer, not like people weren't signing up for edge to edge quilting necessarily.
Yeah.
So it was all under my power and control. And I tend to just like dense quilting. I would spend a lot of time, probably way more time than I needed to on the quilts, but then still charge the basic rates. And over time, that was just simply not sustainable.
Right.
And it caused, feelings of I don't want to say, maybe resentment is the right word, but it was totally self-imposed, right? So
Right.
um yeah, it was like I was trying to do better quilting and grow myself or my skills as an artist,
Mhm.
and still charging the, same price that I should have for very, very basic quilting. Um so yeah, I found that balance really hard to strike. So that was the main lesson in that. I felt fulfilled doing the fancy work, but it was a drain on my body, on my time, uh, on my spirit. It was
Right.
just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh man, this is hard work. And like so many of the artists, the other quilters that I admired, long arm quilters, I didn't know how they were doing that and getting paid for it,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
because there's a difference between doing it as your hobby and entering these spectacular quilts into shows. And there's a difference between like being a service provider and just, quilting for other people because they wanted the 3 layers fastened,
Exactly,
it's
yeah,
like,
they want it all put together, basically. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that was a major source of just not being sure on how to navigate. Like those were my biggest business mistakes, I think. And I don't know if my mindset at the time was like, it wasn't geared toward profit. I'll just tell you that much. Like it was
Yeah.
just trying to do the best I could, making a little bit of money where I could, and that's really how it ended up, as just a little bit of money.
Yeah.
At the end of the year, it's like, oh my gosh, I spent so much time, and there's nobody to blame but myself, right? But I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the knowledge.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't maybe even have the courage to really charge what I should have been. And I found it easier at the time to just be like, I just don't quote for people anymore. That's
Yeah,
it.
you touched on, like, so many important topics just there, just right now. Because I talk to thousands of people, and I've been, in classes with a ton of folks that don't have that. You use the word courage, which is a good one. I use the word confidence, which is a good one. To say, this is what it costs for me to quilt a
Mhm,
quilt.
mhm,
You don't have to be sorry for,
mhm.
for the amount of money. You're running a business, not a charity at the end of the
Yes.
day. And it's great doing charity quilts. Don't get me wrong. I love, doing those things too. But at the end of you've got to pay for that investment of that machine. And I think it's awesome that you were able to have that mentor kind of slightly guide you and kind of soft push you into certain ways of kind of learning about pricing or learning about what's the going rate in the area. Because that's
Mhm,
another thing. We have people that go out and buy these beautiful long arm machines, and it's kind of like almost like a secret society secret on, what do you charge, how do you take care of the machine, how you do this, how you, like, it's all these things that are kind of like gatekeeped almost. And um, it's difficult starting out sometimes. That I've been a part of a lot of people's journeys and
Mhm.
listening to those same questions over and over again of kind of where do I start is a big deal. And that leads me kind of into my next thought. I'm assuming that all of that went into your idea of starting the Long Arm League. Am I correct?
Yes, you
Okay.
are. You are. I wanted a place, and as by that time, Instagram was like a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And I was connecting with other long arm quilters in that Instagram space, and we were asking each other questions. And I thought like it would be so amazing to just like be able to share with a larger amount of people, like at the same time, like
Mhm.
what we're doing for X, Y, and Z. And like
Right.
there's a lot of different ways to run the business. And I would just like to know what other people are choosing, how much they're charging. Like I um part of my story when I got back after I kind of left the quilting for others. And at that point in time, I was doing a lot of custom work. Um, I was very hesitant to come back to it because I just thought I was going to get sucked in the same, like
Mhm. Mhm.
not being able to charge enough for the quilting I wanted to do. So I decided to go the computerized route. And that was such a big investment
Mhm.
for me at the time that I was hesitant about spending that money, and I just I only saw the potential negatives of I guess of nobody's gonna because people ask me to quilt doing hand guided stuff and custom stuff. Why would they ever come to me for edge to edge? Like I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense, but ending up like investing in the computer and kind of finding my own style and voice using commercially
Mhm.
available
Mhm.
edge to edge pantographs was like a whole different sort of business model that I personally felt like I could thrive in because there was all of a sudden there were um, a much more clear timeline of how long that quilt was going to be on my
Oh,
frame.
yeah. Yep, yep.
Like the pricing, like okay, you know how to do the math, take how much what your inches are of your width and the height of your quilt, and then multiply it by a square inch price. And like there were no surprises going in there. Like I just felt like it was like that type and style of quilting and business model just like felt so much better, like infinitely better. Like I felt like I could control and manage the things that were so unknown in the custom
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
So I had new systems, I had new ways of doing things. I was making so much more money, and I just felt like I wanted other people to know like this, like don't be afraid of this. Like don't when you invest in yourself and your skills and your abilities, like oftentimes it pays back, many, many times of what you invest into it. So
Right.
I wanted to tell other people uh, like what I was learning and the systems I was using to make it easier and more profitable. And just I felt like I came alive
Yeah,
with the introduction of like edge to edge computerized quilting. And
yeah.
so that's what I focused on sharing with other people in a more instead of a one-to-one way, like I was doing, just with the clients I was working with, completing the quilting services. I wanted to shift my business model to from a one to many, like, and have my audience be other long arm quilters.
Right.
So that was the where Long Arm League came into play.
Gotcha. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Long Arm League started as a email, like kind of like newsletter blast,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah.
and it quickly
Mhm,
gained traction.
mhm.
And kind of talk to me about those initial reactions from those that were going on and signing up for that newsletter, and how did that kind of that explosion and that gain of traction, like how did that make you feel that like your advice and your knowledge was starting to help so many people, and like kind of where did it take you from there? Because I
Mhm.
can only imagine, like, just sitting there and, like, I'm sure you were getting email responses from people like, "Oh my gosh, I've been looking for something like this. This is helping me. I've
Mhm.
cried. I've been wanting to take a blowtorch to the machine because I didn't want it anymore because I couldn't figure out where to go." Like, what were those feelings like? Because I can only imagine what you were feeling, and I'm nosy, so I need to know everything. Tell me.
Well, I sort of treated this email list as my job for a whole summer, and it was summer 2019, and I had started polling people on Instagram because I wanted, an outlet basically to share information and topics, and so I started sharing it on Instagram and had people sign up, and for me, and I don't know like to compare to other people, but I feel like within just a number of weeks and months, it went from 0 to, like, over 500 people on my newsletter list, and for
Wow.
me, like, I don't that was a big deal to me, and we're talking about a very niche audience, right? Because
Oh, yeah, no
it's
question.
yeah, it's people who are interested or probably what I just anticipated was they already had their machines. They were just kind of, like, at the beginning stages and wanted more information. So every Wednesday, I believe it was Wednesday, because it's still Wednesdays are still my email newsletter days. I would spend a lot of time just covering foundational topics, and
Mhm.
not even from like, this is the way you should do it, but this is just what I do. And this is what I've tried. And this is how I do it now. It was everything from loading techniques, what were more uh, successful for me
Mhm.
in keeping, my quilt straight, um, threads that I use, how I went about choosing designs with my clients. It was just like these little windows into my own process. And you're right, like the replies that I was getting, I didn't even feel. I was kind of like, does everybody already know this, or is this
Right?
helpful? Like it's like when you're not having a face-to-face conversation like we are, you're just like sending information out and hoping that it lands, but not really knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
But I did sort of formalize. I just remembered this because I I was looking at those early days and the early emails, and I did send out a survey, like, and I can't remember. I didn't look back at the actual survey questions, but in addition to just the replies that I was getting, I asked people who were reading the newsletter to reply and what they were interested in hearing more about. Is this useful? What do you do? Like those, just to kind of get that feedback and have a conversation that went both ways.
Right.
Um, and so at the end of that summer, I knew that there was something there because of the interest in people, and other long arm quilters were sharing it with other people and adding names to the newsletter list. And that's when I thought, like, let's just try this. Let's just go month to month. Um, let's see what other topics we can cover. I was interested in hearing just what their questions were,
Mhm.
and so that's the way that we started. And I didn't really have in mind at the very, I don't think I did anyway, but it's been almost 6 years. So I, um, we did more, I did some videos then when people joined the membership, and a lot of those were like video type things. And then we just kind of addressed what people were wanting to hear.
Mhm.
Um, and then, yeah, it has grown from there. I guess I was going to say, I don't know if I saw the need right at the beginning to like have a course set up for people who are just like at the very beginning stages, or even
Right.
prior to um, uh, buying a machine. But I quickly learned by the questions and the feedback I was getting that there was a need for that. So rookie season was the course that was born out of that need of somebody starting at the very beginning steps.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the initial. I thought I was talking to people who are kind of like already had started and maybe just wanted some guidance at the beginning, but then it became clear like that we needed a step one kind of a course.
Yeah, definitely somewhere to kinda to start fresh. This is exactly where
Mhm.
you wanna go to, from 0 to wherever you wanna to head from there.
Mhm.
But I think it's quite interesting. You said something funny that, whether you know or think it's funny or not, it is. You said, I just initially just kinda just was sending out my ideas, kind of what was going on in my brain, and hoping it stuck. And that's the way that I kind of think about the videos that I produce for YouTube and for so many other platforms. Is like, I do people even care what I'm talking about? Like, I don't know, but I think it's cool, so I'm gonna share it. And then when you hear back from them that like, oh, this was the technique that they were trying to find, or this is something they've never thought of before, or oh, you made me feel confident to get on my machine and do it too. It's like, oh,
Yes.
okay, people do care. And
Yeah.
so I think it's a really cool feeling. But now you're talking rookie season now.
Hmm.
I want to talk about that. That's your signature online course for those that are listening, and that kind of starts you from scratch. Can you walk us through like what that whole course kind of encompasses? Like, what is someone getting
Hmm.
when they sign up for rookie season? Kind of talk to us as like I just logged onto your website and
Hmm.
I want to know. So kind of take us through the process.
Well, I would love to tell you.
Okay.
Some of those initial emails that I spent so long crafting when I was very first, doing a newsletter and trying to see if there was interest. A lot of those ended up as parts of the lessons that are in rookie season.
Okay.
So when someone joins as a student, they get uh, a week's worth of information at a time generally. So we're talking about like, have you decided a name for your business? Have you set it up with your state? Do you know what a tax resale ID is? Have you considered wholesale accounts? Like we go through some of those basic steps, and then like the next week they're going to get a new module, a new week's worth of lessons to go through, because it can just be so overwhelming when, especially if nobody has quilted on a machine before. You're talking about getting a machine for the first time. A lot of times trying to understand the computer related, components
Hmm.
of that machine, which
Hmm.
is another layer. If someone's never owned a business before, or not sure, even if they have owned a business, we have quilt shops that might not have, offered a service and then they want to start a service. So we welcome them to come into rookie season as well, because there are so many things that are specific to providing that service for other people. So
Yeah.
the first 8 weeks are like those module drops, one at a time, and it progresses through like supplies to loading advice to design advice when you're working with a client, to how to manage your finances, how to set up a website. uh, we cover all of those in the first foundational weeks. In the meanwhile, we're having calls twice a month through Zoom, so every student can come and get their questions answered.
Hmm.
um, because a lot of, with all of the business owners that I've talked to, nobody has to do it the exact same way, and oftentimes there are unique circumstances in someone's life that they have particular questions about. Maybe they don't want to have anybody in their house,
Yeah. Yeah.
to have like, client meetings or whatever. So we could talk about alternatives to that, or just a variety of things that come up, so people can come to those live classes and get their questions answered. So it's pre-recorded content, it's live calls, it's a private community. So like if we do Zoom calls every other week, which we usually do, and they think of a question the day after the
Yeah.
Zoom meeting, they can always pop into our private community and get some answers or get some feedback, post pictures of like, I just got logos back from a designer. Can anybody give me input on this stuff? So it's the community online as well. And so all of those pieces come together to really support someone starting a business for the first time. And the rookie season course started as six weeks long, and now it's a year.
Oh my
So
gosh.
if that
Talk
if
about
that
expansion pack. All right.
if that tells you, like, we just didn't know. We thought like people would just eagerly gobble up that information and implement it, and it would be like, okay, you're great, see you later.
Right.
And a lot of people did join the membership after the 6 weeks, but we knew after some time, every class, every launch of a new cohort, we were learning more about what people were asking for and needing. And guess what? Like life just happens a lot. Most people are working a full-time job and want to start this business for either retirement income, which is so super common, or they want to just do it on the weekends, or there's just a variety of ways that you can set up your business to adapt to your needs and your lifestyle, your circumstances.
Yeah.
So I think long arm quilting is really great for that. But yeah, things come up. So we just thought it was better to provide a whole year's worth of support for feedback for all those reasons. And then after those foundational weeks are over, though, they get automatically added into our membership, which is some more advanced topics. Maybe it's more marketing focused. Maybe there are lessons that talk about new I'm trying to think here of like some of the recent lessons, rethinking your branding, being active on Instagram, or building a community of I don't want to say followers, but just curating an audience around you, being active in your local communities.
Yeah.
We interview a lot of quilters who have been doing it successfully for a long time too, just to kind of peek into their process, because maybe they have systems that are really working well for them, and it's just great to share information and learn from each other. So those are more like, I don't want to say advanced because they're not all super advanced, but it's things that fit, that are beyond just like the foundational getting started steps. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you've got that rookie season. It's kind of like a starter pack, maybe is
Mm-hmm.
what we could call
Mm-hmm.
it, a year's starter pack, which is
Mm-hmm.
really good. But then you're kind of in that next membership that you've got after that really kind of helps you, like you said, get past those
Mm-hmm.
initial startups, because like you said, you've got the loading down. Maybe there's a tip here or there that could be useful. You've got the threads down, a tip here or there. But
Mm-hmm.
now you want to go into, like you said, not really growing followers, but it's really building engagement, because
Mm-hmm.
that's really a hard thing that we see with a bunch of brands across the spectrum, not even in just quilting, all over the place, is there's so many people always in your face, especially on social media. So how do
Yes.
you curate your posts and your photos and your things like that to make them more engaging, to
Right.
bring that group back to your page instead of going to Susie Q or something like that. We love Susie
Yes.
Q, but instead of going, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Truly.
it's
Yes.
so it's trying to figure out those different tips, and especially if you're like interviewing other people in the industry that are doing it successfully, it is
Mm-hmm.
cool to hear, what other things are they thinking about, to help see if it's something that works with your brand, because everyone's brand
Yeah.
is a little different, and that's okay. That's the point of it.
Yes. And Corey, I just want to like say this too, because
Yeah.
I think in the spaces that we inhabit online,
Yeah.
we do see a lot out there, but I love the thriving businesses that don't even like necessarily need to post on social media to be really effective in growing their business, if
Hmm.
they serve their local community with such excellence,
Yeah.
and they have invested in those relationships with local quilt shops, quilt guilds, quilt teachers.
Right.
They know who they're meeting, and networking, getting to know their local quilting communities, and that's all they need to thrive.
For
So I
sure.
don't also want people to think, if they're starting a business, that you have to be online all of the time. I think
Oh,
that can
yeah,
be
no question.
overwhelming.
That's a common misconception.
Yeah.
That, like, if you want to grow your business exponentially from, like, a reach perspective,
Hmm.
and maybe, you do wanna share, everything that you're doing in your studio like I do, all the time, that's fantastic. Social media is the place to be. But like you said, if your lane per se
Uh-huh.
is
Yeah.
that you want to grow your local community, you wanna grow your local region of
Hmm.
your quilting guild shows, whatever, that's
Hmm.
fantastic, because that's
Hmm.
also needed as well. You don't have
Yeah.
to live your life online at the same time.
Right.
So, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
It's a lot to handle, it's a lot to
It
handle,
it
doing
is.
everything online as well as, running a store or a business or things like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to just tell people that they don't have to model their business exactly about along the same lines as somebody they might see on Instagram.
Mhm.
And success means different things to different people. I
Right.
know for me, like initially, it was the flexibility of having this job, working around family needs, and so like that was amazing. It filled that need for me and my family. Somebody else might have a totally different goal as far as quilts that they want to quilt per month, or the amount of money that they want to make,
Mhm.
or let's face it, some people just want to pay off their machine
Right.
and really just keep it for themselves, and
Exactly.
that's valid too. It all deserves a space, and that's okay if that's your dream. We don't all have to have the same um, goals and outlooks as business owners.
Yeah, totally. And I'm getting the sense, through our conversation that building that sense of community is like a very like cornerstone part of the Long Arm League business. Like kind
Hmm.
of when I came by your booth at QuiltCon, the Long Arm League Lounge.
Uh-huh.
Is that right? Or was it the Long Arm
Yeah.
Lounge? Was it the Long Arm League Lounge?
Yeah.
The triple L? There we go. Um,
All bells.
all the L's. I got that vibe when you walked by that everyone was there just kind of having a good time, chatting with each other. How do you find like being able to foster kind of that sense of community within your members? Like, do y'all do like I don't know, like an annual mixer or something online, or are there like how does that work for like those that don't live close to anyone in a
Hmm.
quilting community? Because a lot of quilters are living kind of in rural areas where there's not
Sure.
people really close to them. So how do you work with kind of fostering that sense of community and keeping your people engaged and chatting with each
Mhm.
other and kind of hyping each other up to keep kind of moving through it?
Yeah. Well, I think for all the reasons you just said, community is so super important because we learn so much from each other. Um, Not only like in the tactical day-to-day running of a business, but you to have a friend who kind of gets what you're doing and you can bounce
Mhm,
ideas off of. Like, I think community is just so important. So we like with the Zoom calls, you get to know each other somewhat when people are showing up to the calls, asking questions, talking about where they live, or their machines. You kind of just get to know people after they show up time and time again.
mhm,
We also have in the membership, we have what we call rosebud and thorn calls, which are just ways to get on Zoom together. They're not recorded. Don't have to have anything prepared. You can just show up, and we split up into the like breakout rooms in
mhm.
Zoom and go through something. A rose is something good that's happening. A bud is something that you're looking forward to. And a thorn is something that is like a pain point, or you might want feedback on it. You might just want to vent. Um, it is just a way to talk about your business, get to know other people, and there's no expectations. I mean, you can just pop in anytime, any meeting that works for you. We do a
Right.
couple of those per month.
Okay.
QuiltCon is a big one because I feel like a lot of our people
Yeah.
tend to kind of know what's going on in the modern quilt space. They are coming to the shows, or they're on Instagram. They follow the same people. They see some of the same influences. Um, so we like to have a presence at QuiltCon just for that reason. Like if you want to have a buddy to walk the show with, just show up at the booth, because there's going to be somebody else there who might be looking to do the same thing, or taking a break, or just visiting with each other. And we recently started, last year was our first time we hosted a retreat where no learning is allowed. We're not there for business. We are there to work on our own projects, because a lot of times long-arm quilters will quilt and work on everybody else's projects but their own.
Yep.
So we did that for the first time last fall, and we're going to do it again this fall. And it's just a nice time to deepen those connections with the people that you might see in the posting in the private community, or you might have connected with at QuiltCon. It's just, more, we try to time it so that it's like 6 months after QuiltCon ish. So like there's 2 touch points a year if you want to travel, and not everybody can travel across the country because, QuiltCon is moving around, and the retreat that we've hosted was in Kansas City last year, and it will be in the same place this year. So I realize that not everybody can get to those, but we like to at least have the invitation out there for someone to establish more in-person connections as well as online, because there's Instagram that we see each other on, the private community, and then occasionally in-person events. So I think they all work together to encourage relationships to form, because there's times that you just want to say like, okay, this weird thing happened and I need somebody else's input about like what to do next.
Oh yeah.
Or I'm finding that this isn't working as it used to. Any ideas that I could try? Like, it's just so good to be there for each other and share information.
Yeah, it's good to have kind of like a sounding board, even if you already kind of know what you want to do. It's just nice that maybe you have a friend, like you said, a friend in the same space that's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, no, that's the right way, or girl, no, that's not what you should be doing. You should
Stop.
really rethink that quickly. Like a quilt that I'm working on, just now it's on my frame over there. I knew exactly what battings I needed to put into it because I've done it 1,000 times for show quilts. But my mom came up, and it was nice to have someone to soundboard off
Yes.
of. Like, is this really what I should be doing, mom? She's like, Corey, yes, you know what you're doing. But like, you start to
Trust yourself.
second guess
Yes.
yourself, and you're
Yes.
like, I don't know, should I do this? So having that sense of community, I think it's also cool that you mentioned like when people go to QuiltCon, swing by the Triple L Lounge and pick up a buddy and walk the show with somebody, and just kind of look through the show through someone else's eyes as well. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's kind of cool because we all pick up different things when we're walking through the show.
Mm-hmm.
Our eyes are always wandering, and
Mm-hmm.
having that buddy with you, then you sometimes are creating a lifelong quilting friend that you can FaceTime at 9 o'clock at night, that I've done with a few of my friends, and be like, hey, I need help, or I need someone to bounce ideas off of. So I think
Yeah.
that's really fun. And then I didn't know you were doing a retreat. I want to come. That sounds like fun. I love a good
Seriously, we have
retreat.
a few spots left.
Oh,
You can definitely
okay.
come up to. Absolutely, Corey. I'm gonna
That
offline.
would
I'm
be
gonna
fun. That would be
send you all the
fun.
info.
Yeah, I want yeah, send me the info. I love a good retreat.
Yeah. Well,
And
who doesn't?
it's so much fun. It's so nice just to be around like-minded people when it comes to sewing
Yep.
and quilting,
Yep.
and just not worry about business. Like you said, this is a no business thing.
Yeah.
We are
Please
here
don't learn.
just piecing away or cutting or hand embroidery. The last
Yep.
retreat I was at, someone brought their Cricut and they were doing vinyl things. Like, it's just that's just
Nice.
fun just
Yes.
to work on projects together, which I think is really cool. Um, I also, speaking of QuiltCon,
Mhm.
if no one's ever gone to QuiltCon that's listening to this or watching this, you have to go to QuiltCon. It is a completely different vibe and energy, and the show is absolutely incredible. It is so much fun.
Yep.
There's stickers everywhere, so be prepared for stickers because everyone loves stickers at QuiltCon. But one of the actual stickers that I think I picked up at your booth, no, I know I did, was that you have a digital panto club.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I wanna talk about that because,
Okay.
I love digital quilting designs because I am a computerized quilter as well as a freehand quilter, but
Mhm.
I think it's cool to have, like, a club, and kinda talk us through kinda how that club works. What
Mhm.
is someone getting when they sign up?
Mhm.
What are some initial reactions that you got when you started the club,
Yeah.
and kinda what took you to doing something like that? Because I think it's kinda cool to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So one of the very first benefits before even rookie season, we decided that I was going to send out to the membership one digital design a month that they could use for their business.
Mhm.
Just it's nice to kind of collect different styles to fit the different tops that might be coming through your frame. So I just promised one a month, and we've been doing that since I think September of 2019 was the first month, and we haven't missed a single month. And sometimes we do bonus designs, but basically the Digital Panto Club is those designs without all the other membership stuff. So
Okay.
it's just the digital designs. When you sign up, it's you get a design right off the bat, and then you're basically just subscribing to all the designs that we put out for that year. So the first Wednesday of every month, I do a new design, and so you're basically added to an email list, and you get the new design the same day it's released.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's very simple.
Yeah.
It's a very economical way to build your library, especially if you are just starting out. Because I know, like when I first started, I was tempted to buy all of the designs, and
Same, sis,
sometimes,
same.
like you just, and it's fine. Like you slow down on that because then you find the ones that really work great, or you get a sense of like, am I actually going to use this, or do I just think it's pretty and I'm never going to use it?
Right.
With the digital design, with the digital Panto Club, you just get all of the ones that we create for the full year. So some of them are very simple. Some of them are a little bit more fancy. Some of them are going to require precise alignment. They're going to be a little bit tricky to do, but we
Mhm.
try to aim for a variety of difficulty, I guess.
Mhm.
And that kind of goes hand in hand with the time it takes to stitch out too, because
Mhm.
they're not all created the same. They're not.
Right.
They're there's a lot of variation out there with the design. So mine tend to be modern,
Okay.
but it's kind of exciting. You don't know what you're going to get because sometimes I mean, I usually have an idea of like the next couple designs that I'm going to send out, but I'm just always designing and working on new things. And kind of the criteria is, would I put this on an actual quilt of mine? If
Mhm.
I don't, or if I won't, then I don't release it. And so all the designs that I send, I have quilted it out usually on, it started where I just was using like solid fabrics just to kind of show off the stitch path a little bit more. But I found as the time went on, like quilters are not often given whole cloth quilts to
Mhm.
test
Mhm.
out. So I I also want to make sure it looks good on patchwork, and so I piece my own quilts. And if I put a design of mine on it and it looks good, then I release it to the membership, and then the digital Panto Club gets it as well. And then we also put it on we have an online shop, so you can shop all of the designs that have been released to this date. But that's the deal with the digital Panto Club.
That's cool. Yeah, I've done a little bit of shopping on your site as well. Don't
Oh.
Yeah, just a few patterns. Yeah, just a few. One of the ones that I liked, I needed it for the big Tex quilt that I did for the All Texas Shop Hop, and I needed some type of grass fern looking thing. And you had one. I don't remember the name of it, so forgive me. But
Best
it looked
friends.
no, it wasn't what it was supposed to be.
Oh, okay,
So,
great.
like yeah, like,
That
no,
clears it up.
I was looking for, like, this, like, grass bush looking thing, and I don't know what happened. I was scrolling down your site, and my eyes crossed or whatever, and I saw the pattern. I was like, "Oh, perfect," and I downloaded it, and, Ray was sitting next to me, and he looked at it, and he was like, "Why that's not gonna work at all for what I don't know what you're looking." I was like, "I don't know how I looked at it, but I was looking at it upside down, and I don't know how." I was reading right side up. My brain was upside down. It was one of those nights. I don't know. So I was playing with it. I flipped it. I rotated it, and I got the look that I wanted.
Well,
It turned
great.
out really, really cool. So, but it stitched out really, really well. So you've got really cool patterns and great
Oh, thanks.
designs. But as a pattern designer, how do you stay kind of like fresh and up to date with the evolution and the like constant changing that happens in the quilting industry, and like how do you stay ahead of the trends for those designs for kind of those people that are looking for them?
This might be an unexpected answer, but I don't really pay attention to the trends too much.
Okay.
I kind of just lean into this is kind of like a trust thing too. If I like it and I would put it on a quilt, then like I go for it.
Hmm.
I'm not super into novelty stuff, so you're not going to see a lot of novelty designs on my site. And I also am a person who just really prizes texture, and what you're probably not going to see really specific I don't know, like things or
Like
nouns.
like
I
kind
don't
of
know.
thing like nouns,
Like
really?
nouns.
You're not gonna see nouns, you're not gonna see places, you're not gonna see
You're
people.
gonna see
Um,
abstract shapes is like what you're gonna get when you go to our site because
yeah.
I love the effect of especially like smaller shapes that are repeated, like just the overall feel and the texture of it. And um, I think that helps in some ways uh, complement patchwork without taking it over.
Right.
So I don't necessarily try to stay up on trends for better or worse, but it's more like what is the resulting texture going to look like? And if it seems cool and like I would like to use it on a quilt of mine, then I think like, yeah, it's okay. And and that's just sort of how I operate. But I like looking on Pinterest for different, but not necessarily in the quilting spaces.
Mhm, mhm.
It's more just like simple line drawings or I know like tiles,
Yeah, yeah,
wallpaper.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
some of that repeating stuff just kind of gets me enough. If I see a concept or I love echoing. I love um, if I get like a hint of an element of something, then I'll try to pull it into my software and just see what comes of it.
Right, right.
So that's really how I work with design. I really love designing, especially if I'm on an idea and I like have to see it through to the end. I could sit for hours and just play.
Yeah.
But I it's not something I sit and work on every day. So it's usually like a clustered activity or for uh, a period of time, I might just like start 16 different designs and then see what one is most interesting to like work on next to get it to through to a finished format and schedule it out and move on to the next
And
one.
kinda go to the next one. I think it's interesting, though, that you were saying kind of the way that you I guess I'm gonna say attack the design
Mhm.
process, that you're looking more from a kind of a textural standpoint as opposed to a pattern specific standpoint,
Mhm.
because that makes your patterns, at least the way I think they do, it makes them more versatile, and you can use them on a whole bunch of different quilts as opposed to buying one pattern for that one specific quilt and then you're done. You
Yeah.
kind of just stuck with it.
Mhm.
Stuck with it's a bad word, but you know what I mean.
No,
Like
yeah.
sometimes
Like a
sometimes you
baseball
buy one
design.
thing. Yeah, like okay,
A
love the
noun.
baseball design, but can't use that on grandma's heirloom
Right.
or different things like that, like a the flower garden quilt or something like that. Like that would be a little difficult to do. But if
Mhm.
you have a really cool textured panto that works on multiple different things, then it's going to be a little bit more bang for your buck then at that
Mhm.
point, for that club. So that's really cool. Thank you for walking us through that process. I like
Well, yeah, thanks for
that.
asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So We've we've talked about quite a bit today on the initial startup, how you've moved into Longarm League, rookie season, the further membership, Panto Club, all those fun things. Looking ahead, looking forward, are there any like kind of like future aspirations that you have for Longarm League? Are there any cool things in the works that you can hint to us about? You don't have to explain everything, but just kind of like kind of what's the future look like for Jess and for Longarm League?
Well, I mean, I hinted at I didn't hint. I just, threw it
Just
all
kinda
out there.
went out there and said that, yeah.
The retreat stuff, there are times where I go, okay, this is embarrassing, but I go to another smaller retreat with just, maybe 15 people
Mhm,
at it. It's a more intimate kind of space. The Ours last year had 40 some people. We expect the same amount this year. So like it's a larger scale type of event. But like when I go to these smaller retreats, um, it it's in Wisconsin and it's about a 5 hour drive
okay.
for me. And when I drive home and then for the days following, I am looking at all the real estate, like thinking, where could I put a retreat center? And
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, but at the same time, there are so many reasons not to
I was about to
do
say
that.
I was about to say, I've thought about it, but then I start thinking about all the logistics and all the,
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
everything behind it, and I'm like, better not." Like, it's
There's
a
so
lot
many
of
reasons
work. It's a
not to.
lot of work
Yes,
to do
yes.
it.
There was a time where, our neighbors were, building a house somewhere else and renting their, house, and I was like, "How can I do this?" And, like and the only reason and I really don't think there's anything there, as far as, like, actually following through on any kind of plans, but I do wanna pay attention to the feelings that come up in me
Yeah.
about how life-giving and soul nurturing a retreat like that
Mhm,
can be.
mhm.
It's not just the sewing. It is connecting with other people. It's having time away from your normal routine. It's getting it's that idea of like replenishing your I don't know, your
Oh,
um,
you're good the good juju, good energy.
yes,
It's
yeah.
yeah, all the good
You're
things,
riding
yeah.
on high vibes and you
Yeah,
just want
yeah,
that for everyone.
yeah.
Um so like the retreat that we're doing and I want it to be a bigger scale because I just want everybody who wants to come to be able to come. Like I don't
Right,
want it to be soups exclusive and
right.
you can't get in. But I don't know if that will mean like maybe 2 retreats a year or I I love that um in-person connection and that piece of it. So I don't there's no specific plan, but I could see that being something that I consider in the future.
Yeah,
As far as I think I really I'm very content with how things are going now with having the course if somebody wants to join, they can join at any time of the year. So we don't have the cohorts anymore. They can,
oh, that's good. Okay.
yeah, they can start at any time. I love that. I love the cadence. I mean, I love the availability, I guess, of
The flexibility of it.
yeah, of just meeting someone where they're at. And
Yeah, yeah,
if they buy a machine, I don't want to have them to have to wait 3 months before they can start taking it or whatever.
right.
Um, I like the membership, the cadence of like we do a new design and we do a lesson and we have the rosebud thorn calls and we interview other people and like I feel really content and happy with how things are there. So I don't see wanting this big shakeup, but
Yeah,
I do really value connection and community. And so if there's a way to increase that by way of hosting another retreat or something like that, I could see just being really interested in that piece. And then just trying to do it online in the meanwhile, just knowing the questions that other people are asking, knowing what their concerns are, um, creating a space for friendships to form. I didn't mention this before, but we also have a business buddies group that or if someone's interested in finding a buddy that you can be accountable to almost in
mm,
some ways like
mhm.
you were talking about getting your mom's perspective on something but also like sometimes I'm more apt to follow through if somebody else knows that I'm going to be doing it
Oh, girl,
and
say it louder for the people in the back. Let me tell you, if I don't have someone an accountability buddy, it's like going to the gym. I have to have an
uh-huh.
accountability buddy or I'm not going to the gym. Like, it's
Yes,
not
yes,
happening. Like, I will
yep,
stay on the couch, I will watch
yep,
Netflix, and I will be happy and content. But yeah,
there
it's yes, I totally understand.
yes. There have been some really beautiful relationships that have formed because of those business buddies, and it becomes like, oh, we'll talk once a month about our goals. To like, we're on a text thread and we're texting each other every
Yep,
day.
yep,
It's not that's not for everyone, but we do try to encourage those small groups that like you get to know each other over time, and that you can bring any kind of issue. And oftentimes it like goes into personal life too, because so many of us are doing it from our homes. So we're
mhm,
competing with, kid schedules or a traveling partner or, just like there's something intimate about these businesses being in our homes that it's just helpful to talk through the things that come up. And oftentimes it is, more personal in nature of the things that we navigate around to do the business.
yeah.
So it's good to have those buddies.
Yeah, that's That's actually a really big thing. One, thank you for bringing that up because I didn't know that you did that. Because you can't, like, I myself, I run into this all the time. Like, one, I'm like my worst enemy when it comes to
Totally.
things. Like, I have my inner saboteur, like, will just get to me hardcore, and I'll be like, yeah, no, I probably shouldn't enter in that quilt show because I don't think I'm good enough to enter it in. But then, like, I guess my business buddy would be my friend Brooke. Like, I can text her and be like, "Yeah, this is what I'm working on," and she will like lose it. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful, it's incredible. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, "Is it really?" Like, no, I don't think I'm that good. And like, there's been instances where she's driven to my studio here and like, okay, I will sit here until you log this that you're gonna, put it into a show or that you're gonna do this video, you're gonna do the like having someone to kind of amp you up and help get you over your own, like get you out of, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
What's the word? I don't know, but it's
Make
that.
you see reality?
Yeah, well,
I
break you
don't
see
know.
reality, like, get you out of your own way, maybe that's what it is,
Yeah.
like, and just go for it. That's a really nice thing, and so is that part of the, like, rookie season membership, like, kinda all that kinda thing, or how
We
does that
don't
work?
it's not usually until somebody goes into the membership, resources because
Okay,
we try to limit our rookies to, like, get the basics first before
right,
we have just so much to offer, so it's like, we don't wanna overwhelm anybody too soon.
right,
Um,
right,
in the business buddies, we have a space for it in our private community, so somebody can post, like, "I'm looking for a buddy. These are, like, what my available days look like."
yeah,
Um, and we don't manage it for them. We just kind of create the space and encourage people to make connections. And sometimes, like with the rosebud thorn calls, just anybody can come to those. And so, what I kind of secretly or not so secretly happen or hope happens is that people get to know each other being in a more informal, like a one-off kind of call, and they're like, "Do you
right,
want to meet up again and talk?" Like, I'm hoping that that is a way that the buddies form
right.
as kind of being on those more informal calls, getting in the same breakout room, and then like having them take that relationship a little bit further if they connect or if they see like an ongoing relationship blossoming, like that would be ideal. Because we've had the business buddies for a long time, but it was often difficult for people to just put themselves out there and get to
Mhm.
know other people if they weren't super active in the community. So the rosebud thorn calls were a way to try to encourage just more community interaction.
Yeah,
So
kind of like natural conversation too at that
mhm,
point. And then
mhm,
it also, like you said, it also kind of gets them maybe a little out of their comfort zone naturally to
mhm.
do it themselves, as a group instead of you like the professor,
Yes,
assigning
you
people
have
like
to
you're
sign. Yeah.
going to talk to this person. It's like, no, I don't want to talk to Karen. Like
But
like
have you met
you know what I
her?
mean? Like she's in my same city. I know who she is. I'm not talking to her. Like it's
Right.
nice if they kind of foster that own relationship on their own.
Yes. We have
So
tried
I
it
think that's
the
cool.
assigned way, and who knows if it worked for some, but
Right.
I find like it's better, like if you think of the rosebud thorn calls as speed dating, to see like if there's going to be a connection there, and if
Yeah.
so, like cool, then maybe yeah, maybe you take it to the next level, which could be a monthly Zoom, or we have people that are like on Marco Polo chats that
Yeah.
will ping each other multiple times a day, or text threads, or maybe they have a like a chat group on Instagram, or however the meet, like they can all decide that because they're adults, they can figure it out,
Right.
they'll settle into what works best. But it usually does take at least one admin person saying like, okay, before we hang up, when are we going to meet next? Here's the meeting reminder. It does kind of take maybe a type A person, at least one of them in the group, to keep it going and to make that more
You
regular.
always have the group leader in whatever
Yeah.
you're doing. Like I tend myself to sometimes, even here at work, I tend to be a group leader. And it's not even my meeting to take over, but I'm taking over the meeting. We got to figure out the minutes. We've got to figure out what's happening next. Who did the agenda? Who's taking the notes? Who's following
Mhm.
up? Like, yeah, you definitely need that person in the group sometimes.
At least one.
At least one. So, we've talked about so many cool things today. I've learned a whole lot more about your business and you. So, thank you so much for sitting down with me. For those listeners that are eager to learn more or maybe even sign up for the options that you have at Longarm League. Can you give yourself a cool little plug and tell
Yeah.
them all about where they can find all of this incredible information and how they can sign up?
Well, I'd love to. Go to longarmleague.com and there will be, usually there's a banner at the top that says, watch our pillars video that we talk about some common misconceptions about starting your own business. It's the stuff that I wish I would have known when I was starting. And then it also goes into great detail about what is covered in the class, and it will give you an offer to join the class as well. So that's the best way to learn about rookie season. But the homepage is going to show you like the digital panto club that we talked about, and just some other information about what we do. I blog at least once a month, usually about new designs that are coming out. But yeah, that longarmleague.com is the best place. And thank you, Corey, for like inviting me here. I love to chat with you. I love seeing you at shows, and it's been really fun. I appreciate the time.
You are so welcome. I really, really appreciate it. I know everyone that's listening appreciates it too. And it's just always just a fun conversation here at the round table as we just figure out kind of what everybody else is doing. Because,
Yeah.
we kind of see it on the outside. Everyone kind of sees what I do on the outside. I've seen what you're doing on the outside. But when we get to sit down and really talk about what goes
Yeah.
into all of these things, it's so much fun. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day to sit down and chat with me because I always love talking with you. So this is cool.
Absolutely. Feel the same
Awesome.
way.
All right. Well, I will see you next time, Jess.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Alrighty, everyone. So that was our incredible episode with Jess from Longarm League. We got to learn so much more about rookie season, about the Digital Panto Club, and also about the membership that is offered to learn more. I didn't know she was doing retreats, so I'm going to need to sign up to go to one of those eventually because I love a good retreat. Y'all know I love retreating. The really cool thing that I liked out of all of that was that sense of community, and getting to know others, getting to know other tips, tricks, kind of building those ideas and something to always fall back on when you kind of get into a rut and you're like, I don't know what I want to do or how I want to handle this course and these things that she offers is so incredibly awesome. Thank you all so much for listening here at the roundtable, and I will see you next time. Bye.